What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where I keep you updated on the fourth stimulus check update, the stimulus package update with the $3.5 trillion stimulus package, where I'm going to have new information for you guys on the number and the latest details where the Democrats are quickly moving forward on the details of that. We're going to have details from the Democrats on that and directly from President Biden in this video. And on the debt limit ceiling, we're going to hear directly from Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen with some big information on that as well. And Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer with a vote coming on the debt limit ceiling. We have all that and more on this daily show where I keep you updated on the stimulus package, money, investing, the stock markets, pretty much everything you need to know about. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. Remember, new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you find these videos helpful, don't forget to hit the like button for us down below. It tells the YouTube algorithm that I'm doing a good job. All right, first, let's hear directly from Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen on the debt limit ceiling, which needs to be voted on and passed by October 18th, which is now 13 days away. They have to do it before then. So it's really 12 days away, almost 11 days away. And if they don't do this, the government will default. She has some harsh words to say here. Listen to this.
You know, it's really up to Speaker Pelosi and Leader Schumer to figure out how to get this done in Congress. What I can tell you is that it's utterly essential that this be done. I've said that by the 18th of October, we will be out of extraordinary measures, have limited cash, and likely to exhaust it very quickly. And so I do regard October 18th as a deadline. It would be catastrophic to not pay the government's bills, for us to be in a position where we lack the resources to pay the government's bills. It really undermines confidence in the full faith and credit of the United States, our willingness to stand behind our debts and make sure that we pay them. And when you think about the impact it could have on 50 million seniors that are expecting Social Security checks, on our troops, on 30 million households waiting to receive their child tax credit payments, and these would be delayed and the delays would grow longer.
I want to pause there for a moment. Note that she mentions Social Security payments could be delayed, payments to troops and servicemen could be delayed, child tax credit payments could be delayed. This is the Treasury Secretary of the United States, the person in charge of the Treasury Department. So, I mean, it's as credible as a source as it gets. This is a very serious deal. So, I mean, you heard it directly from her. I mean, this is not just fear-mongering. I mean, this is the person in charge of the Treasury of the United States. This is a very serious deal. So they need to pass this bill, and we're running out of time.
And these would be delayed, and the delays would grow longer. And of course, our debt itself, U.S. Treasury securities have long been viewed as the safest asset on the planet, that partly accounts for the reserve status of the dollar, and placing that in question by failing to pay any of our bills that come due would really be a catastrophic outcome.
I recognize...
I fully expect it would cause a recession as well.
I recognize that this is ultimately going to be the responsibility of the Senate and the House. But let me ask you this. Senator McConnell did put it on there, put the responsibility on the Speaker of the House and the Senate Democratic leader yesterday. And then Senator Manchin yesterday said maybe the approach in terms of the tools that are available should be reconciliation, that Democrats should do it in reconciliation. Would you support that?
Well, Andrew, I support getting it done. This is long been done on a bipartisan basis. The debt ceiling has been raised almost 80 times since 1960, and almost always on a bipartisan basis. This shouldn't be the responsibility of one party or the other. We have to raise the debt ceiling as a routine matter whenever the country runs budget deficits. And with the exception of a few years in the late 1990s, this has happened during most of the post-war period. And it should be routine to raise it. When bills are passed and tax policy is put in place, that's the right time to debate what the fiscal policy of this country should be. And we have those debates. But once decisions are made, we have to pay the bills that come from those decisions. And so to place an arbitrary ceiling on our debt and to create periodic crises, manufactured crises that really place our economy and our financial system at risk, especially now that we're recovering from the pandemic in a fragile way. I consider this irresponsible. I believe that both parties have a responsibility to get this done, and it's really up to the Congress to decide how to manage it, but I believe it must be done.
One of the reasons that debate is taking place is in part because the Democrats have now linked these two other spending packages together that are quite remarkable in size. And I'm curious if you could take us inside those conversations and whether you support linking those two packages together.
Well, I support both packages. I think the infrastructure bill that was crafted on a bipartisan basis certainly has the support of the White House. I'm supportive of it. Without doubt, we need to modernize our infrastructure. Our roads and bridges, in many cases, are crumbling. We need to upgrade our ports, our airports, to modernize our grid, to build electric power charging stations across the country, to promote the use of electric cars to address climate change. This is really important, but what's in the other package, the reconciliation package, is also tremendously important. It involves child care, paid leave, a child tax credit, investments in education, in early childhood education, and very important climate change initiatives. And all of these initiatives are important for our economy to be able to grow. Some of the supports for children and families will raise labor force participation, make it easier for women to work in the labor force, make us closer to most other advanced countries. Labor force participation for women now lags behind. Climate change, it's essential to deal with that. And look, this is a package that's paid for. We've proposed tax increases and improvements in enforcement that would serve to close what's estimated to be a $7 trillion tax gap over the next 10 years. So this is a fiscally responsible package. And the total spending is less than 1%. It's over 10 years, and it's less than 1% of GDP over those 10 years. In that sense, it's not very large.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen also called to get rid of the debt limit in its entirety. It's not sure if the Democrats would be able to get rid of it now in a vote here within the next few days. If they do that through a vote in the Senate, I don't think they can do that at this moment. They can do it if they do it through reconciliation, which is kind of the process that the Democrats are going to pass the stimulus package through. If they do pass the debt limit through the reconciliation process, the Democrats can actually just get rid of the debt limit through that. The Democrats have warned, though, they might not have the time to pass the debt limit through the reconciliation process. If they do go that route, they can literally just get rid of the debt limit. Even Republicans have said in the past, They think they should get rid of the debt limit. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen thinks they should get rid of the debt limit. A lot of people think we should just get rid of the debt limit. It's this arbitrary extra measure. Remember, all bills are approved through Congress in the first place. However, Janet Yellen has rejected the idea of minting a $1 trillion coin. Check this out. She rejected the idea of minting a $1 trillion coin to avoid a default. She says, quote, I am opposed to it, and I don't believe we should consider it seriously. The platinum coin is equivalent to asking the Fed to mint money to cover the debt. She said what needs to be done is for Congress and the administration to show they can be trusted to pay the country's bills, which she's right. The country does need to be trusted to pay the bills. That doesn't mean it can't be done as a last-ditch effort. But she's kind of right. The $1 trillion coin is kind of a, can they really do that type of thing? Like, is that a real thing? Is it real? Like, even I kind of question the matter. Like, is the $1 trillion coin, like, is that a fairy tale? Is it real? Like, nobody really knows. Like, it's an idea. Like, are they really gonna do that? Like, it's like a thing where, like, at the last minute, are they gonna say, ta-da! We have a $1 trillion coin that we did. It's almost one of those things that they might do the very last moment if we're gonna default. And we really don't want to have that situation. So really, we need to either have the Democrats pass the reconciliation process, which is the stimulus package, which a lot of Democrats are saying they don't have time to do it. We have Joe Manchin and that whole situation and the whole process of the reconciliation process, which has hours of debate on the floor. They have to pass it in the House and the Senate. Or the other thing is the easier process is just pass the bill in the Senate with either 60 votes, which would mean 10 Republicans say yes, which Republicans are just 100% gung-ho on not saying yes. Or they can pass it in the Senate with Republicans just willing to grant unanimous consent to not filibuster, which would mean they can pass with just 50 to 51 votes, where basically the Republicans will just agree to unanimously consent to not filibuster the vote, where the Democrats can pass the debt limit ceiling with just 50 to 51 votes, and the Republicans just agree to not filibuster it, which is pretty much the easiest way to do it. And Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is setting up a vote tomorrow to vote on this in the Senate. So literally, this could all be over tomorrow if the Republicans want to play ball. Now, remember that just last week, the Republicans voted no on this twice. Not once, but twice. So the Republicans really just need to change their mind. So will the Republicans change their mind and prevent the country from defaulting, prevent seniors from missing their Social Security payments, prevent 65 million children from missing their child tax credit payments, military service members from missing their payments? Or do we go the other route and hope that the Democrats can pass the reconciliation process, which is at best a 50-50 chance? I mean, the 18th is 13 days away. I mean, we're almost at October 6th now. You may be watching this in the morning of the 6th. So we might as well just say it's already the 6th at this point, which would mean that's 12 days away. But we can't wait until the 18th. You have to pass it before the 18th. So that's basically 11 days away. So we have 11 days or less to get this done. So you might as well just say we have about a week or a little bit more to get this done, because you have to pass this before we default. And remember, the 18th is an estimate. The Treasury could run out of money before then. So how close do you want to cut it? You kind of got to consider that we have a week, maybe a little bit more to get this done, or we have a first ever government default where the Treasury literally runs out of money. Okay, here's the latest information on the stimulus package, and it's getting pretty big. Democrats begin to narrow their differences on Biden's agenda bill, and the negotiations are getting pretty heavy on the stimulus package, which is no longer going to be $3.5 trillion. It's been $3.5 trillion for a long time, but that is now changing. Democrats, in a flurry of private talks, are beginning to narrow their differences on the size of President Biden's sweeping safety net bill, as liberals signal sizable concessions on the size of what could be the most far reaching social legislation in years. In a virtual meeting with about a dozen liberal Democrats on Monday, Biden suggested a range of 1.9 to 2.2 trillion, according to people with knowledge of private discussions, significantly lower than in his initial $3.5 trillion. Bernie Sanders says he's not sure that President Biden actually said that, and that was a rumor. But now Pramila Jayapal has pushed back and said she countered, get this, with a minimum spending amount of 2.5 trillion, saying a range from that to 2.9 trillion could cover the key programs. So Pramila Jayapal, the leader of the Progressive Caucus, has countered with anywhere from 2.5 trillion to 2.9 trillion. Yeah. Now get this, Senator Joe Manchin has opened the door in the deal range of 1.9 trillion to 2.2 trillion. So now we're starting to get somewhere. Senator Joe Manchin on Tuesday signaled he's open to budget reconciliation bill in the ballpark of 1.9 trillion to 2.2 trillion, above the limit he set just last week of 1.5 trillion. And I told you I didn't think 1.5 trillion was his top line number. I always thought that was kind of his starting negotiation range. Never did I think that Joe Manchin was going to be set at 1.5 trillion. And lo and behold, here a week later, he's already come up to 1.9 to 2.2 trillion. Joe Manchin says, quote, "I'm not ruling anything out, but the bottom line is I want to make sure that we're strategic and we do the right job and we don't basically add more to the concerns that we have now," Manchin told reporters on Tuesday. It was a small departure from his position last week when he announced my top line has been 1.5 trillion. So he basically added, what is that, 50% more to his $1.5 trillion. My, how quickly his top line has changed, huh? He also told reporters last week that he doesn't want to change our whole society to an entitlement mentality. Manchin's comments last week sparked a backlash from progressive Democrats, though his Democratic Senate colleagues have been careful not to criticize him for fear of angering a key vote. Remember, they need his vote to pass the package. But while Manchin has signaled some flexibility on the top line number, there are a number of significant disagreements still to resolve with fellow Democrats. One major sticking point is his insistence that the reconciliation bill include the Hyde Amendment, which prohibits using federal funds for abortion expenses. And then we also had the other day where he insisted that natural gas be included in the bill, or the part of the bill. And we have Joe Manchin just demanding all sorts of different things here. And it's he sure is demanding a lot for one specific thing. Imagine if we had that from every single Democratic senator, all 50 of them, and imagine if we had that from all 220 Democrats in the House. Boy, we'd have 220 different bills. But Joe Manchin seems to think that he's the most important person. We've had a lot of comments from people in the comment section saying he thinks he's more important than the president. And in some ways, he kind of does. He wants to basically rewrite half the entire bill based on what he thinks. This guy is something else, man. He almost lets the power go to his head. It's kind of crazy. He wants to basically, whatever he thinks, he wants to rewrite the entire bill based on his vote. It's kind of crazy. And it's not really how things work. you're one vote, but that doesn't mean you get to rewrite the entire bill based on what you want. Yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. But I mean, they do need his vote, but that doesn't really mean you get to rewrite half the bill. I mean, what about what everybody else thinks? I mean, there's 50 senators that are going to be voting yes on this. Remember, all the Republicans are going to vote no on this. Um, it's, it's a huge thing, and remember, all the Democrats are going to have to come together in the Senate to vote yes, and in the House to vote yes. They can only afford basically about 1% of the Democrats to vote no in the House. So they have to get all of them to vote yes to get this to pass. So and then they also have to vote yes on the debt limit ceiling, or else we will have a government default. Now, they were able to pass a government shutdown bill here about a week ago, but the government between the Republicans and the Democrats to keep the government open. But remember, that's different than the debt limit ceiling. Right now, the Republicans are refusing to vote yes on raising the debt limit, which we have to do to uh, prevent a government default. Remember, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said, what did she say? That we raised it 80 times since 1960. Uh, we have to do it. There's no way around it. It's just the government runs at a deficit, and we have for many years. I mean, 80 times since 1960. Uh, whether you like it or not, I mean, former President Donald Trump added $7.8 trillion to the deficit in just 4 years. So that's over 25% of the entire deficit ever of 200 years of our country. So we have to do it just to pay the interest on our debt, or else we're going to default. So one way or another, they have to do this. So whether the Democrats are going to do it through the reconciliation process, if they're going to have time to do that, I mean, we basically have a week to do that, a little bit over a week. Or the easier way is to do it through the Senate, which the Republicans are going to have to either unanimously consent to allow it. And this is a big thing for our country. I mean, we're talking about a government default. The government will run out of money, won't be able to pay their bills. And right now, the Republicans are not allowing it to happen. They voted no twice last week. And we're basically down to our last week here, a little bit over a week left. So let me know what you think is going to happen. You think the Republicans are going to allow this vote to happen? Do you think the Democrats are going to be able to pass the reconciliation package in time? Or do you think we're going to have a government default for the first time ever, which would be catastrophic? Literally the words of Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. So I'll keep you up to date here. We got a lot going on here with our country as they near the final rounds of the stimulus package, the infrastructure package, the debt limit ceiling vote, which is going to happen tomorrow in the Senate. So I will keep you up to date on everything. Make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. All you got to literally do is just click subscribe. You can click the bell icon if you haven't yet, which will give you notifications, reminders of when we go live with new videos, which is every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can click here to watch my newest stimulus check video next, and here to watch my newest video on Social Security increases. There's 2 different potential Social Security increases coming up. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.